Over the years, Bart has been interested in several women older than him, and rightfully, these interests have gone nowhere, with at most him getting a peck on the cheek. But there have been 2 women where this didn't happen. One is Darcy, an older girl that Bart dated under false pretenses, where Bart lied about being older and said he had a disease that stunted his growth. And the fact that Bart was driving around in this episode with a fully legal license given to him by the city makes me think that Darcy shouldn't be judged for dating Bart. However, I can't say the same thing about the other older woman, Shauna, because she was well aware that Bart was in elementary school while she is in high school, even if Shauna was a 9th grader, making her 14. This isn't a senior dating a freshman situation, as Bart is a prepubescent child. No matter what, this makes their relationship non-consensual and makes her a groomer. And while it's unlikely they did anything too extreme with each other, she still did this bare minimum, which is messed up to do to a child. So, why don't we dive into this episode and see how bad this situation really was. Let's find out if Beware My Cheating Bart is the worst Simpsons ever. But before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to our patrons. If you like our content and want to support us, consider becoming a patron, where you get access to all our videos 1 week early. If not, a like and subscribe goes a long way. Thank you. Now let's get to the episode, which begins at the Springfield Mall, back when those were still relevant, but nearing their dying days. This episode is made in the 2010s. Anyway, Homer takes Bart and Milhouse to the movies to see the happy little elves, the sequel. And obviously, they don't want to see this crap. Lean to Homer to give a great response.
Watch whatever you want. I got you here alive.
Homer then leaves to go to the food court, making this the first episode in this series with a B-plot. I'm a little surprised this hasn't come up yet, since B-plots are very common in The Simpsons. But this is the first one, so here we go. So Homer gorges himself on Chinese food, ignoring the fortune cookie's message. And only a short walk later, he becomes so tired he falls to his knees in front of a sports equipment store, where the salesman helps him out, proceeding to show him around the store, and showing him a high-tech treadmill, which Homer is immediately interested in. But he can't afford that, or can he?
Homer, you can't afford $300 a month?
No.
Well, what about $10 a day?
Easy!
We then go back to Bart, who for some reason decided to actually go to see the happy little elves, and is rightfully mocked by the bullies. They say they're here to see Crawl Space, which honestly looks like a pretty interesting horror movie based on the poster. However, Shauna isn't interested in this movie. She'd rather watch a Jennifer Aniston rom-com, completely ignoring Jimbo's compelling argument.
Shauna, food for thought. If we don't watch movies about torture and crawl spaces, how will we know what to do if someone puts us in a torture crawl space? Not if, when.
But Jimbo doesn't want her to be alone, leading him to threaten Bart to watch her as Shauna. And Jimbo actively examines Bart and how he is just a child. Seriously, he says this.
Let's see. No starter stash. Temp tat. Still has baby teeth at 9 and 24. Total pre-puber.
So they watch the movie until they show the main guy's butt. The best part of any rom-com. Naturally. And his moment on a date with Lunch Lady Doris? Interesting tidbit. After this, they go get a burrito at the food court, where the squeaky-voiced teen hits on Shauna, leading Bart to step in to lay down the law, which scares off the suitor. But Shauna reveals she's not happy with Jimbo. He didn't even notice her side braid, which Bart compliments. And then Shauna makes the situation worse.
You know, for a second grader, you're pretty sharp.
I'm actually in 4th grade, but I read at a 2nd grade level. They think I might have a problem.
And that comment right there didn't deter her from what she's about to do. She actually comes off like she likes him more now. What is wrong with this girl? She thought he was a 2nd grader. Jimbo then comes back, while Homer shows up to take Bart home to set up his new treadmill. But before they leave, Jimbo tells Bart he has to watch over Shauna again tomorrow, because the bullies are busy, where Shauna winks at Bart and starts rubbing his chest. Dude, what the hell? Moving on, Homer sets up the treadmill and actually starts working up a sweat. You go, Homer. You're the only thing I'm liking about this episode so far. And Lisa begins the downfall of this endeavor.
Wow, the TV's hooked up to the internet. You could stream whole seasons of old TV shows.
Nice going, Lisa. You ruined everything. It's like she was trying to make him fail. Homer finds a show called Stranded, a parody of Lost. Homer gets sucked into the show, but still exercising, for now at least. And it's over. Thanks, Lisa. The next day, we see Bart with Shauna at the makeup store, where she tries to steal some makeup, but does nothing to try to get past the scanners. Bart then takes the fall for stealing the makeup. However, he was capable of getting out of mall jail. And finally, we get a funny moment in the A-plot, only to be immediately followed by this, where she does to thank him for taking a dive for her. Creepy. Just creepy. We then see Bart at home, where he still has a shocked look on his face. And why are they eating dinner at the breakfast table? Anyone else find it weird that they had 2 different tables for breakfast and dinner? This family was supposed to be middle income at first, before quickly being turned into just being poor. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with 2 different meal tables, but this poor family has them. But anyway, Bart says basically the line of the episode in my eyes.
Doesn't anyone here realize I'm only 10 years old?
We then see Homer watching Stranded again, but this time he is caught by Marge, who of course is angry about him wasting an expensive treadmill, but also is angry because she wanted to watch this show with him, but he wasn't interested, saying that the show sucked. We then go back to Bart, who is just coming off like he's traumatized. You know, at first I thought the writers didn't know what they were doing when it came to Bart and Shauna, but now I really have to question that. What is this? Anyway, Jimbo comes up to Bart with Shauna, which I would question why she's not at her school, but I really doubt she cares about school. So Jimbo compliments Bart for watching Shauna, before just randomly leaving. Bart then tells Shauna she can do better than Jimbo, which personally I don't think is true. I mean, she clearly has a thing for elementary school students, and Jimbo checks that box without it being creepy, because he was held back several years. We then see that Homer has returned to treadmill, but is still in the basement for some reason. I guess he just turned it into a really lazy man cave. But he's interrupted watching his show, because Marge wants to bang. However, he turns her down to watch the show, which I guess he's lucky she wasn't taking steroids at the time.
I wasn't asking.
We then get a movie reference montage to show Bart and Shauna's relationship growing, which if you thought the only bad thing that happened was the flashing scene, think again. Nah, that was just their elbow. But they do start making out, until they are caught by Jimbo. And Bart doesn't do himself any favors right now, as he laughs at Jimbo for going bald, and getting several blows to the gut for it, before Jimbo gets stopped by the lifeguard, giving Bart the chance to run. He then starts hopping from backyard to backyard, trying to lose Jimbo, only to find out the bullies are at his treehouse waiting for him. And unfortunately, Marge lets him stay, because she wants Bart to have more friends than just Milhouse. Which, why does Marge have a problem with Milhouse all of a sudden? Shauna then finds Bart, who assumes the position.
Why do men always think with their tongue?
Maybe it's because he's a child that you are making out with. Anyway, she's here to help out, without a plan, making her more of a detriment if Jimbo finds him right now.
All right, follow me to a place where nerds, dorks, and dweebs can gather in safety.
This isn't like some creepy place under an off-ramp.
Okay, we'll go to my second choice.
They then go to Bart's second choice, where Shauna mocks Comic Book Guy, leading him to call the bullies. Great help, Shauna. Glad you were here. Then we get the cringiest moment of the episode, where Shauna and Comic Book Guy get into a flame war. Luckily, it gets cut off by Homer, who is hosting a stranded discussion group, which is easily the most annoying part of the episode, because he keeps blowing a horn to avoid spoilers because he's only seen up to season 3. This makes Marge snap at him, and she spoils the rest of the show, leading Homer to say they're now having marriage problems. Which really, dude? It's an old TV show. It's not worth losing your wife over. But it does lead to this great moment.
Well, since this is a discussion group, let's discuss.
I think they're having a spat.
I'd say it's more of a tiff.
Oh, so I'm a moron, am I?
Fellas, I know where this is going. Give me all your weapons now. Now it's time to talk about what Carl wants.
Bart and Shauna are now hiding from the bullies inside his treehouse, only for Lisa to show up to try to end the conflict. But Jimbo finds them before she can come up with a plan, leading Lisa to say Shauna should choose neither of them and focus on Shauna. Yeah, that's great and all, Lisa. But why would this stop Jimbo from kicking Bart's ass? If Shauna leaves him, he can still easily blame Bart for this. So they cut away from this without showing any resolution yet, where we see Homer still angry at Marge. But she makes it up to him by giving him stranded roleplay, I guess. Even though Homer was the jerk in this situation. But sure, there you go. We then see Jimbo putting the fear of God into Bart, meaning that Lisa did nothing to help him. Damn it, Lisa, you only had 2 scenes in this episode, and only did bad in both of them. The episode ends with Homer and Marge kissing, not caring at all what's happening to their son right now. The end. Let's just get into this. This episode is awful. The Bart and Shauna romance was creepy and predatory, ending with Bart being the only one facing consequences for what the hell happened. While Homer's subplot had funny moments, it was just an alright story, with a tacked-on relationship drama at the very end, which is literally resolved in the next scene. The entire ending just felt rushed. Like when they realized they were at the 20-minute mark of this episode. They said, damn it, we need to end this thing now. Throw in some message about women empowerment in there. Screw it. And this led them to not putting much effort into the ending. So overall, this was just a bad episode, and fully deserves an F. But is it the worst Simpsons ever? While it's not fully out of contention, I do think the Homer subplot prevents it from being the worst ever. So no it isn't. At least they made the episode have some funny moments, which is more than I can say about the current worst episode, which pretty much was just all bad. So while this is an awful episode, and Shauna is just a creep, it isn't the worst Simpsons ever. But can I say that about the next episode? And what episode is that? Well, it's a new episode of The Simpsons, but right before the start of The Simpsons Renaissance, where Matt Selman takes over as showrunner. Heck, this episode's story is by Al Jean, the man who held down The Simpsons for the past 2 decades. And why is this episode so bad? Well, it's because it has the biggest Mary Sue in Simpsons history. Yeah, this is one of those episodes that's bad, because of a character over a plot. Much like the current worst episode. So tune in next time as I review The 7 Beer Itch. And thanks for watching.